everyone, and I hope you're having a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this. Obviously, for me, it's nighttime, and it's currently 11:38. 11:83, dear Jesus. Not much of anything has happened since the burn hit the window on my house. That was literally terrifying. I really hope that never happens again. Because, yeah, I'm not very superstitious, but I am when it comes to a few things, and burn hitting the window is one of them. Especially after a few things that happened in my house that had to do with a burn. Excuse me. But, yeah. Anyway, so I am back, and we are continuing our, I don't know if I want to call it a Massachusetts tour, or let me know in the comments below. Anyway, the Salem witch trials are typically associated with women and girls. Although outdated views of hysteria were undoubtedly responsible for the tragic death of so many female victims, accusations of witchcraft also affected men. One of the most notable examples of an accused and executed man during the Salem witch trials is Giles Corey. Giles Corey was a rich elderly farmer originally from England. At the time, Salem law dictated that those found guilty of crime must have their property seized by the sheriff. The sheriff would then divide the property among the village. Within this legal and cultural structure, the wealthy Corey was placed in the town's crosshairs as one to always convictingly suspect. In April 1692, 5 girls, better known as some of the affected girls of Salem, accused Corey of witchcraft. Elizabeth Hubbard, Ann Putman Jr., Abigail Williams, Mary Walcott, and Mercy Lewis. During the initial legal examinations, the girls accused them of torturing them, and their emotional cries and groans of pain further convinced the judges that Corey was guilty. Corey asserted that he was not guilty, but rejected the trial. He believed that the court was biased against him, so he had no real chance of being declared innocent. Instead of proceeding with the trial and attempting to defeat himself, he never went. He was sentenced to death. He was sentenced to a specific form of execution. And I'm not good with French, so if I pronounce this wrong, I apologize. Peine forte endure, or strong and forceful punishment. Peine forte endure was a form of punishment originally from Europe. It is actually considered illegal due to its barbaric nature. And this form of execution consists of death by crushing. On September 19, 1692, Giles Corey was crushed to death in Salem village, shortly after being excommunicated from the church. His execution was an agonizing process. First he was stripped nude and forcibly face down on the ground. On top of his back, a wooden board was placed. Increasingly heavy rocks were then placed one by one on the board. The pressure from the grueling weight gradually crushed his bones and organs. All the villagers watched his execution as a spectacle. As the rocks were stacked one on him, the sheriff demanded he pleaded guilty. Corey simply responded, "More weight." He pleaded for more weight, as in addition to resolve belief his innocence, he strove to die faster. It took days for him to finally succumb to death. For his gruesome, terrible death, Corey was not without his problems in life. In 1675, he beat a farm worker, Jacob Goodale, to death for stealing apples from the cellar of Corey's brother. He lied about the worker's death, purporting that Goodale fell off a horse. Despite his lies, Corey was found guilty of murder, but was only forced to pay a fine. Ironically, he benefited from his wealthy status throughout the village, as his life punishment reflected the village's perception of Corey as a productive member of society. Unfortunately, the murder of Jacob Goodale did leave a significant scar on Corey's reputation in Salem. His frequent actions didn't help his status either. He has been convicted of theft twice, and was also a suspect of arson. Marrying his third wife, Martha, he helped Corey on the straight and narrow and improved his standing in Salem. He joined the church in 1691 and was known have changed his aggressive ways as a result. As the Salem Church reported detailed, Giles, a man of 80 years of age, had been a scandalous person in his former time, and God having in his later time awakened him unto repentance. He stood pronounced a month, making a confession such evils has been observed before him before. He was received into the church with conscience of the brethren. In short, Corey had redeemed himself in the eyes of the village with one change, or so it had seemed at the time. Corey's wife, Martha, was a woman of faith. Martha was considered a positive influence on her husband, and as he'd not committed any crimes since the start of their marriage, she diligently attended church to the point of not noticing the storm of rumors and fear devouring Salem. In spite of her peaceful nature, she was accused of witchcraft. Martha denied the accusations, but her unaffected tone was imprinted as guilty by the judges. Worsening the situation, she was accused of torturing her associations. In court, her associations, Anna Putman Jr., and her pretended like Martha was actively torturing them and controlling their bodies. The judges believed their acting, and she was found guilty of witchcraft. She was hanged mere days after Corey's own execution. At first in court, Giles testified against his wife. Then he tried to retract his statements, realizing that he mistakenly brought into the lies waged against her. It wasn't long after the trial he was accused of witchcraft himself. Initially, Corey was deemed suspicion for trying to restate his testimony for his wife's sake, and a kind of assumed guilt by association. But reputation suffered further. He was also associated with the facing of officers that disagreed with the Putnams, who were responsible for several accusations during the witch trials. In a climate so sharply focused on conformity, Corey didn't fit into Salem's West panic as much as he should have. Rather, he skeptically rejected the culture of accusations, putting his innocence even more into question to the townspeople. This rejection likely took hold of after he fell prey to the panic in testifying against his own life, and certainly when he himself stood accused. With time, the accusations leveled against Corey progressively shifted into accusations of witchcraft. When the illustrations piled up, he was seen at a witch's sacrament. He tortured girls he killed before, and he will only do it again. He was decried as a warlock. His character was assassinated before he was. Giles' Corey's death sent a shock through Salem, and he didn't fit the stereotype profile of a witch. He was an elderly male and devout. He had inspirational redemption arc, from murder to man of God. And he had maintained a life free of crime for some time. Most importantly, he had unusually gratuitously horrific death. Corey's death was not in vain. His brutal martyrdom is created with causing the public to disagree with the witch trials, helping intake and end the trials. He was also immortalized in writing, most famously in Arthur C. Miller's play, The Crucible. And I've seen The Crucible, the movie. I haven't seen the play, but I've seen the movie, and it is amazing. It had been amazing. And, if you're too young for The Crucible, you might want to watch it with your parents, because some scenes were scary. For his crimes in the face of persecution, he became a culture symbol of holding firm in one's convictions above all else. His name was cleared of the witch trials accusations in 1711 by the Massachusetts legislature, far too late for Corey's sake. Corey was buried in an unmarked grave in what is now known as Howard Street Cemetery, near the site of his execution. Since his death, there have been rumors that his ghost haunts the cemetery, seeking redemption for his killing. His ghostly legacy also extends beyond the confines of cemetery. It is said that while he was being executed, he placed a curse on Salem, perhaps revealing that in the end, he did have at least a degree of supernatural abilities. He targeted the sheriff in particular, shouting, "Damn you, I curse you and Salem." Sheriff Corwin died of a sudden heart attack at 30, a few years after Corey's execution. The curse is thought to have moved on, affecting every Salem sheriff from 1692 onward. As recently as 1978, Salem Sheriff Robert E. Cahill had to retire due to a limit of health issues, stroke, a blood disease, and a heart attack. His doctors couldn't detect their issues, or causes, not issues. The sheriff before Cahill also developed the disease that forced him to retire. The sheriff had initiated his position from his father, who died of a heart attack while being the sheriff himself. The sheriff before him yet also struggled with a heart condition as far back as typical. The sheriff of Salem had also similar heart issues. Corey's curse lingered for 3 centuries until 1991, when the sheriff's office was moved out of Salem, breaking the curse. Since 1991, no sheriffs had heart or blood problems diagnosis. At the Howard Cemetery, the Ocean on Giles Quarry haunts the vicinity and is most commonly encountered before and after a town tragedy, such as the Great Salem Fire in 1914. In 1914, right before the fire, a ghostly figure of an old man was seen hovering through the cemetery grounds. The fire started near Gallows Hill, the site of his wife Martha's hanging. It destroyed most of Salem. It remains unclear when the ghost will be seen next. What is clear, that it is not a friendly spirit. Now his actual grave is unmarked. A memorial marker for Corey can be found in the Salem Witch Trials Memorial. So, do any of you think it's actually a curse that Corey put on Salem when he died? I don't know, but a lot of things have happened that revolved around it, so it's a little suspicious if you ask me. Anyway, thank you guys for watching my channel. As always, Hunting Girl will spook you later. And until next time, sleep tight.